No matter what level you're currently at, if you improve just these things, you'll be able to level up your game instantly. My name is Jordan Briones, and I've been teaching and coaching for the past decade, and I've coached players from 3-0 all the way up to the pro level. So if you really want to level up your game very quickly, you're going to want to watch this video all the way through. All right, so now let's jump into the return and talk about the first most common problem that I see. When players are setting up for their return, they are setting up way too close to the line, especially against really good servers. So when you're this close to the line, it's going to be hard for you to get to the net because it's hard to get that momentum moving in, and you're going to be taking the ball right off the bounce, which is really tough. So what we want to do, especially against consistent servers that serve very hard and very deep, just give yourself some room. As we give ourselves some room off the line, it allows us to buy more time for ourselves and allows us to actually hit through the ball while we have our momentum moving forward. All right, the second most common problem that I see in a lot of players' returns is they prep very late. So what happens is that serve is coming in and they are not recognizing if it goes to their forehand or backhand, and they're not turning in time, so they're late on their contact. So go ahead and serve the ball, Grayson. Okay. So instead of turning and prepping early, their contact gets behind them, and this is how they hit short returns or hit the ball into the net. So what I want you to focus on here is recognizing if it's going to forehand or backhand, and the first thing that's going to happen is your shoulder turn. And this is also referred to as the unit turn. So if it's going to my forehand, I'm turning, and if I have to create space, I'm gonna do that. Or if it comes to my backhand, the first thing I'm going to do is turn my shoulders, whether I'm hitting a slice or a topspin shot with two hands. So this is what it's gonna look like here. Turn. Okay, so you saw right there, as soon as it leaves this paddle, I'm deciding what side, and then I'm turning my shoulders to get myself in that unit turn started so I can prep early. Here we go again. Okay, so just like you saw there, again, that one was to the backhand. First thing I did is turn those shoulders so that it allows me to prepare really early so that I can have a clean contact out in front. All right, third common problem on the return is I see players do this all the time, and they are returning with zero momentum moving in. It doesn't matter how deep your return is or how great you hit it. If you do not hit it with momentum moving in, you're never gonna make it to the line. So this is what I often see. Players hit a good deep return, but then they have to run up after that, and they're never gonna make it. They're gonna get stuck in transition. So even if your return isn't as deep, it's actually better to make sure that you're hitting it with your momentum moving in so that you can get to that line. So here we go. Grayson's gonna serve it. There we go, okay? So just like that, we wanna make sure that we actually have that momentum moving in on our return so that we can get in a strong position at the net. Now let's talk about the decision making on a return. And you will see good players and really experienced players do this, and you'll see their returns going in at a very high percentage. So what do? They don't go for the corners, and they don't go for risky returns. If you watch professional pickleball, usually a big bulk of those returns are towards the middle and they're deep. So I'm not flirting with the corners or the sidelines. I really wanna just play consistent pickleball and get my returns right down the middle. So here we go, Grayson. Okay, so no matter if you are hitting a forehand or a backhand, again, there are situations where you wanna go down the line and cross court, but generally, if we keep more returns down the middle, we're going to make a lot more balls. The second thing I wanna talk about when it comes to decision making is understanding the main goal of the return. I hear a lot of things, yes, to get it deep, that's what we wanna do, but the main goal of the return is to hit a ball that is going to actually get us very close to this non-volley zone line so that I'm in a very strong position for my fourth shot. So I see a lot of players returning a lot faster than they should. If you're not that mobile, or maybe you're not as fast, it might be in your best interest to actually put a little bit more loft on the ball and keep that ball in the air longer. Now, if you're a really fast player, you can hit your returns with your momentum moving in, hit it a little bit harder, and then you can get up to that non-volley zone line. But the main goal is to get that ball, keep your opponents back, and then I can get in a strong position for my fourth shot. So if I need more time, my return is gonna look more like this. Okay, so that had a little bit of topspin on it, but the main thing there is I'm buying myself a ton of time depending on how fast I am in my mobility, and then I can get up here so I'm in a really strong position to counter the next ball. Quick interruption, if you're finding value from this video, make sure that you hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out and helps us make more videos like this. Also, if you'd like to add topspin to your game, we created a free video to show you exactly how. You can visit topspinsecrets.com or scan the QR code. All right, so now let's hop into the third shot. And this is specifically going to be talking about the drop right now. So if you are hitting a third shot drop, one of the most common problems and mistakes that I see players make is not creating enough space. Players talk about it all the time. You want to take the ball at the apex or a little bit after. And in order to do that, we have to create the space, and we have to create space between us and the bounce. Okay, so there's a ton of times where I see players, they serve the ball and they're getting their return, and Grayson's gonna feed what would be a return right now. And what ends up happening is that they miss their shot because they're getting jammed up or they're getting rushed because that ball is penetrating and it's putting a lot of pressure on them. So what we want to do instead, as we see the return come back, even if it's deep, is I want to adjust my feet back so that I can create space and give me time to hit my third. So we're going to see that one more time. See, it's a deep return and I adjust my feet back, and this allows me to take it more a little bit after the apex, buy myself time, and I can hit a really consistent shot. All right, the second thing I want to talk about when it comes to drops, no matter if you're hitting a top spin or a slice drop on the forehand or the backhand side, is your swing speed. Remember, we are swinging through the ball to hit our drops, but we're trying to get that ball to land in the non-volley zone. So it's not really that far. So that being said, what we want to do is we want to make sure that our swing speed is slow to medium. If your third shot drops are going too high and they're getting crushed, it's probably because A, you're not creating that space, and B, you're swinging so fast. So I'm just going to take a couple of drops here and kind of show you my swing speed for me to get that ball down. Okay, so that one was a little high. Okay, that one was good. Okay, so in general, whether I'm hitting a forehand or a backhand, I really want to make sure that I'm controlling my swing speed, especially on my drops, because the faster my swing is, the more that ball is going to come off the paddle, and it's hard to control that depth. Remember, we want to force a low contact point on that side. So in order to do that, we have to hit a nice and controlled shot to get it down there. So now let's talk a little bit about mindset and decision making on your thirds to help your consistency. So first thing that I want to talk about is just simply leaving margin for error. Whether you are hitting a third shot drop or a third shot drive, I'm not trying to hit something super perfect, super close to the net, or else I'm going to be missing that ball a lot of the time. So here's my drop. Let's say I'm really trying to hit it right over the net, and then it goes into the net. Or maybe I'm hitting a drive, but I'm trying to keep it 1 inch above the net here because I'm trying to force a really, really tough ball, and I'm making a lot of errors, okay? So what we wanna do is we wanna make sure that we have some margin or a broader window over the net so that we can actually be more consistent. If you watch the pros play, they rarely miss their thirds, whether they're dropping or driving, and you will also see that they don't hit perfect thirds all the time. Sometimes they have to stay back, and that's okay. But the big idea here is we have to make our opponents play. Secondly, on decision making, it's really important to decide as early on as you can whether you're gonna hit a drive or a drop. This is why it's really important to drill and do different scenarios. But again, here's a scenario where that return is coming back, and if you decide really late, you are going to make more errors. What I like to tell players is I will make my decision and I never change that decision. Now, it could be the wrong decision at times, but I want to get in a habit of picking my decision, drive or drop, and then just running with it. At least now I'm committing to the shot. So Grayson's gonna feed me a couple balls here. Drop. Okay, and then one more here. Drive. Okay, so that's just a really simple example of me verbally calling out what I'm gonna do really early. But something as simple as this can really help you make your decision really early, stick with that, and you'll make less errors. One of the things that you can easily change in your game is driving and dropping more towards the middle. I cannot tell you enough how many times I see players trying to hit a cross-court angle or really close to the sideline, and they end up either hitting into the net or they end up hitting it wide. One thing that you almost will never ever see at the pro level is pros hitting their third shot drops or drives wide. That will never happen. Why? Because they play a lot of balls to the middle because they know that it's very consistent. So next time you go out on the court, try to play an entire game where you're hitting your drives or your drops solely to the middle and see how many more balls you get over the net. All right, so now let's move into the fourth shot. And this is a very important one because you're obviously trying to keep your opponents back. Now, one of the most common mistakes that I see is players hitting their fourth while they're moving, so they're not stopped. So we talked about the return. After you hit your return, it's really critical that you come into some sort of split step and stop before your opponents are hitting. And now I'm stabilized and I can actually hit a solid volley back. So I'm just gonna do a simple kind of drill here. Let's say I'm still coming in and I'm going towards the net, and I'm gonna make sure I stop and I'm ready for the fourth. So here we go. Okay, so again, what I'm doing is I'm simulating myself coming in after the return and then stopping, prepping for the counter and the drive that may be coming my way. So here we go. Okay. So that's one of the most common mistakes. If you are moving through the ball, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes hitting the ball out and potentially hitting it right into the net. All right, next common mistake that I really wanna talk about is just really conceding and letting your opponent easily come to the net. So whether they are driving or dropping the ball, I see players being really passive and kind of just hitting the ball way in front of them so that they could drive or hit an easy drop as they come in. So let's say the ball's over there on that side and I just kind of hit the ball like that, and it allows my opponent an easy time, really easy time just to come in. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I try to pin them back on every single ball, no matter where they are, so that at least I could keep them back for one more ball. So let's see what Grayson hits. A driver drop here. Okay, there we go. There. And look at my next shot, now he's hitting still deep, and he wasn't allowed to come in on that very first ball. So it's really important that I try to hit my fourths and have that aggressive mindset to hit that ball as deep as I can, and I don't let my opponent come in really easy. The third common problem that I see in a lot of players' fourth shots, and this is particularly when they're playing against players that love to drive the ball, is that they are missing volleys into the net. So this is what it typically looks like here. He's driving, and then they're missing into the net. One of the main reasons, and I've studied a lot of film of amateurs and even pros do this at times, but they end up swinging the ball and swinging their swing path in a downwards motion. So you saw in that last one, I was actually swinging down. And I'm gonna show you one on the backhand. Grayson, you could drive over here, right? Volleying down. Now, we want to keep the ball deep, obviously, as deep as we can. And the way we can actually clear this net every time is that we have our paddle face open and we're always pushing out. I'm pushing forward. So I'm never going high to low. I'm always going out. And if I'm doing that, now I can keep that ball out there and I can keep it back where that ball needs to be. So one easy fix is to keep your volleys compact, but not only that, I'm always pushing forward and not down. Now the next common problem I often see kind of goes along with that, but on the opposite side, is I see a ton of over swinging. So yes, we're trying to be aggressive here and trying to keep them back, but I see players, they're trying to be as aggressive as possible, but what they're doing is they're just swinging so big and they're trying to hit a winner on their shots when they're at the non-volley zone. So it kind of looks like this. Here we go. Right? They're swinging out of their shoes and they're trying to hit a winner, which could be good that we're being aggressive, but what happens is you're making a lot of errors. So, you know, it could be to the forehand too, right? They're trying to put so much pressure. What's really important is that we keep that ball as deep as we can. We don't have to hit a winner. When we're up here, we got to be really consistent with our forts and push that ball, whether it's topspin or just a nice punch volley. We have to just keep it deep, but don't go for winners, don't over swing. We want to swing in a way that we can control it and keep the pressure on. So now let's talk about decision making on the fourth shot. This is a big one. Now, when I'm up here, I'm on the offense because I am in a positional advantage. I'm at the net, my opponents are at the baseline. What I want to do obviously is take the ball out of the air first. So my posture should be, you know, kind of leaning in, and I'm in a good position here, especially if they're going for a drop. I should be trying to get balls out here. Now, if I can't, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is players not creating space off the line. If you can't get it out here and you don't create space, now you're gonna get jammed and you're gonna hit a really weak ball actually on your fourth instead of hitting a strong ball. So first, I'm gonna show you leaning out of the air and what that looks like. Okay, so Grayson's gonna hit a drop. Okay, and the first choice I had is hitting it out of the air, right? I'm trying to put some pressure. Now, if I can't hit it out of the air, you're gonna see me step back like this. Okay, so you saw even in that one, Grayson actually hit a nice topspin drop there. That would have been tough to kind of take it at low position. But what I did is I adjusted my feet a little bit back, gave myself some space, and I was able to apply more pressure by stepping back with my two-handed backhand. Again, I want to reiterate, if you're not taking the ball out of the air, you have to be creating space back. Here's what it looks like if I don't take it out of the air and I don't create space. Okay, so I see that a lot, right? It's not a ton of pressure. I'm taking it off the half volley and I can't do much from down there, and that just allows my opponent to come in very easily. The last thing that I want to talk about also has to do with decision making, and that is what kind of shot am I actually hitting? Some players don't know, should they be hitting topspin, swinging volleys, should they be doing a punch volley, and they're just really confused. So I like to keep it really simple. If I think my opponent is going to try to beat me with reaction time and they are driving really fast and they have good drives, I'm gonna actually try to keep my volleys a lot more compact, and I'm probably not gonna hit topspin. I'm just hitting a simple push or punch volley. Now, if they're dropping and I can lean in and I can get the ball at a reasonable height, kind of above that knee level, now I'm going to be applying topspin and going to be trying to be aggressive back. So I'm gonna first show you a couple balls where my opponent's gonna be driving at me. Okay, so that was one. Again, that's like a simple punch volley. Here we go, I'm prepping for a drive. Okay, so when I see them going to drive the ball, I wanna keep my swings fairly short, and I'm more than likely kind of utilizing a punch volley. Now, if I see them set up for a drop, this is where I can drop my paddle and look to be offensive with topspin. All right, so let's see that. Okay, so in that example, I know the ball's coming slower and they're going for more of a drop. So now I have more time to prep my paddle earlier, and I can actually swing through the ball and try to apply some topspin and actually have a little bit of a bigger backswing. That might be okay because I have more time.